What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Got a review for you. Let's get into it. Got something new for you guys to check out. We're looking at the Civivi Biophase. This thing is wild looking, guys. Absolutely wild looking. So we're going to go ahead, do the review, some size comparisons, and all that good stuff that we typically do on the channel, especially when this is my personal knife. We got Nitro V, hollow ground, we got deployment hole, button lock, flipper tab, aluminum liners with G10 onlay skeletonized everywhere that you can look at this thing. This thing is stupid light, guys. Stupid light. All right, let's jump into the knife itself. Ergos on it are okay. I do have one big issue before we go down for cutting, and that's going to be that this hump here presents a little bit of an issue. I gotta kind of figure out where my knuckle is and try to move out a little bit on the knife, so I'm kind of pushing down into my grip instead of being up like I normally am. It pushes right into the bone and it pinches the meat there for me with the larger hands. Now for someone with smaller hands, and I'll demonstrate that, if you have smaller hands, you're going to land just inside of that, and I think you'll be okay. So medium to large hands, I think you'll be all right based on where it lands. Anything larger like XL, double XL glove size hands, you're going to want to like slide. You're going to want to push forward a little bit into that flipper tab like I'm doing there. You can see the knuckles getting white. And then you're going to want to go down to the knuckle here to kind of get into a comfortable spot. And even then, it's not that great. Now, the hollow ground Nitro V blade came very nicely sharpened from the factory. The first slice through the paper was very nice. I very much enjoyed that. And then it was an absolute laser beam going through cut after cut after cut of the cardboard. It was no issues at all, not a challenge whatsoever. This thing was an absolute laser beam, super slicey going through the cardboard. Very nice using it in the detailed trace cuts, the lower drop clip point, trailing point, whatever you want to call it. It went through very nicely. It has a very dainty tip, which means it's very acute, and you're going to be able to put a lot of power behind that. There's a lot of sharp spots on this one here. You know, I think this is something that I feel like you would see coming from like Arcane Designs or something like that. Just very wild designed, again, heavy skeletonized, just very different. And I appreciate that coming from Civivi, because I think a lot of people are like, you know, they kind of always go safe. They go safe. I feel like we in Civivi this year has really pumped out a lot of models that really push the boundaries on their designs, and I do think this is one of them. Now, one thing I do want to mention, when I was trying to put this in and out of the pocket, I did notice that it gets a little caught up on pulling out. So what's happening in my pockets, and I was just testing it on the workout shorts. I was wearing jeans and dress pants, but what's happening is right underneath that pocket clip there, the material is getting kind of trapped on the skeletonization. When I pull it out, I kind of got to pull really hard. And on my workout shorts, which this would be ideal for because it's lightweight, when I go to pull it out, it kind of traps. And it pulls the shorts up, so you got to kind of grab the shorts and finish pulling it out. So just something to take note of. I did notice that with this one, not that big a deal. Detent on that button lock is actually pretty good. Now, I wouldn't say it's the best plunge lock I've ever seen, but it definitely is solid. I have knives currently in my inventory that are lighter than this, and I've seen some that are a little bit, not much. Actually, that reverse flick, I think it's because of where I'm putting my thumb. Yeah, it's good. It's solid. It is definitely solid. I was just seeing if I could fail it, and I definitely cannot. Very cool knife. I like a lot of what's going on here. Let's go ahead and take it apart take a look at what's on the inside, see how hard it would be to take this apart. In theory, it should just be scale and liners on top of that pocket clip, which the pocket clip back bolt is definitely being used to help sandwich this construction down, but it should be fairly easy to take apart. Let's go ahead and get everything out, and we'll take a look at the internals, then we'll go ahead and do the weight and size comparisons. All right, guys. I do recommend that you do have nice hardware. I like Weeha bits and drivers. I have those linked down there. I also have some affordable titanium drivers that I found on Amazon down there for you. And then the lube that I prefer to use is linked along with like your thread locker and everything like that. Let me go ahead and get the pocket clip off first. I'm going to start by loosening the body screw first. Feels like there's some thread locker potentially on there. Now I'm going to do the standoff bolt, which is the back bolt, and it definitely feels like there's some thread locker on that. All right, yeah, there's definitely some thread locker on there. I love this mat because it does have the magnets on there and it helps keep everything in place. So we're done with the T6 for now, as my T10 comes rolling over here. Grab your T8 and you're going to remove the final body screw. I'm going to stick that over here with that hardware, and then the last thing I do is I pinch to keep that spring from pushing the scale off, and then I go ahead and take off the pivot screw. Now that I have that off, I'll go ahead and set it down and let it raise up on its own. And usually with button locks, I have found this is a very successful way to do that disassembly. Looks pretty clean so far. Going to check out the pivot. Looks like 5mm 1/16 ball for your washers. Yeah, for your washers. My fault. For your bearings. All right, let's see here. There we go. Going to go ahead and make sure that button and pivot stay in there and remove everything for cleaning. Take note, the bearings were in the pocket, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start with this scale first. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the washer there, make sure it's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and clean the stop pin and put that back. And I'm going to go ahead and clean the button lock to make sure there's no grease, lube, or oil on it. And I do recommend a minimal, well, let's just do this. A minimal amount of lube on your pivot and your bearings, just so that it doesn't fling up on the button, especially with your button lock. But I just recommend that in general anyway. So let me go ahead and finish cleaning off the knife itself. Get everything nice and clean. I've often wondered if I should just sit through this silently. You know what I mean? Like a silent disassembly. What that would be like, what you guys would think of that. Have a little bit of music playing. Yeah, these are definitely 5mm ones. All right, there was your disassembly and maintenance. Let me know what you thought about that towards the end, as I had the idea of the silent disassembly with a little music playing under it. Did you enjoy that? Let me know in the comments. The feedback kind of helps me know if that's something I'd like to continue to do, since I'm incorporating disassembly and maintenance into the review videos. Let's do some last comparisons, and then we're going to weigh this knife. All right, so the Biosphere is up here with the Mini Grouper and the Tacticorix, and as you can see, it is like a bug out sized knife, kind of in the middle. I consider this still medium, and I consider this large, so you could say full size, but with the way the ergos are working, I'm going to call it more medium. Let's do a couple more. All right, so I did want to go ahead and switch out. Normally I do the Para 3 lightweight, but I wanted to go ahead and bring my bug out here because I was like, it's kind of bug out size, but actually it's more Manix 2 lightweight sized, which surprised me when I pulled these out. I thought for sure it was going to be the same size as that bug out. All right, let's go ahead and check out profile against these two. These two are a little bit thinner, so I do like to use that for the thinness there, and then we'll do closed up profile as well. Now with the G10 on top of aluminum, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but it is ever so slightly thicker, and I mean just barely thicker than the Manix 2 lightweight, which means it should be, even with the applied weapon tech scales, thicker than the bug out. The bug out by far my thinnest knife in the collection, and then closed up profile, I think it's going to compare to the Manix 2 lightweight pretty well. Let's see here. Let's get these lined up for you guys. Yeah, so a little bit smaller than the Manix 2 lightweight, a little bit bigger than the bug out. Let's check the weight against these three. Some of y'all probably cringed when I pulled those away because I just dragged them across, but this wood has never damaged anything. All right, so I'm going to say this is probably 2 ounces. 2.6 actually surprises me. Now, let's see how does that compare against the bug out with aluminum applied weapon tech scales, coming in at 2.5, so about the same weight. And then I think this is 3.4. Why did I think it was 3? I'm thinking about the Para 3 lightweight. I think the Para 3 lightweight comes in at 3. 2.5. I don't know where I got 3 from. I just pulled it out of my, I guess. So what was it? 2.6 ounces. Very, very lightweight. All right, you guys ready for my score of the Biophase? So what goes into the scores? And first, before I even get into that, budget knives, which I do consider this to be under $100 with the materials that are being offered, limit or hit a ceiling of 7. 7 would be perfection for a budget knife. The reason for that is more premium materials and steel and such on your higher end knives get into that upper echelon for me, unless it's not a good knife. So having said that, this is very interesting. I love the fact that they're pushing the boundaries here, and I think a couple of things would have really helped it. I think if they would have matched this piece top to bottom with the top part, it would have been more comfortable. You wouldn't have had as much digging in there, and it would have, it still would have pointed out into the knuckle, and it would have been slightly uncomfortable. But this is just absolute murder when I want to hold it into the normal position. I have to slide down and kind of push it out, and it's a light duty knife. Let's be honest, it is a plunge grind, which we should demonstrate how that works before we go too far. So let's go ahead. There you go. Still solid. Civivi, I don't think I've ever had them fail any button locks that I've had personally. And I don't do more than 3 because I don't want to damage the lock. And I'm testing now to make sure I didn't loosen or break up anything. Yep, still rock solid. I reset the lock too because this, of course, no folding knife should be batoned with, but this really, really is not intended to be hard use like that. And I think that's why I'm okay with this having a button lock. Back to what I was saying, if they would have just, I think the design aesthetic here and matching it here, I understand why they went that route, but you see how it's softened here a little bit. I think if they would have done that there, I wouldn't have to choke back so far. Again, having said that, with smaller hands, and I'm using what I would probably say is like a large finger and middle finger, ring finger, I think first finger, index finger. Damn, JD. Index finger and middle finger, I think you would be tight on here. Just demonstrating it this way, I think that's the closest I can Ken to kind of demonstrate the difference there, but I really just got to push it out beyond the second knuckle here in order to be able to hold it comfortably. So ergos were super disappointing. That really pulls it down a lot. I love the hollow ground Nitro V blade. Nitro V, very easy to maintain, very easy to strap back to form. And I guess before I finish going into everything else, I'm just going to drop the score on you. For me, this is a 5.2. Just kind of middle of the road, okay. Build quality is good. The steel, the hollow grind is good. I think the look is fun. I love the lightweight. The ergos just absolutely kill this for me, which is super disappointing because I honestly was very excited to check this one out. It's so unique and different from stuff that I normally have on the channel. I wanted it to be higher. Ceramic bearings in the pivot, very typical of what you see in the budget realm. They're stamped, they're ceramic, they work good, easy to maintain and clean. And 5mm 1/16 ball will definitely fit in here from Skiff bearings. Multiple means of deployment that work very well, very satisfying to deploy. They've really figured out this plunge grind detent, and I'm happy for that. I did notice that after cleaning it and doing minimal lube, I have lost a lot of the grit that was there. It's almost barely noticeable now for me on my example, so I'm grateful for that. I do love the fact that they did a reversible clip. I think it's a missed opportunity here that they just didn't make a clip specific for this design. I think this is kind of boring on here with this knife. This knife to me, it probably should have had something with like some holes or design on it, even if you wanted it to be a steel fold over. Maybe you could do like 3-speed holes that maybe match one of these on the end or something. Just stop with throwing the same old clip on here. If you really wanted to wow us and you wanted us to enjoy the design, maybe in this instance you could have thrown a wire clip on there. I mean, I'm not a big wire clip fan, but I think for what you're showing off here, that would have been fun too, or okay, right? That would have been acceptable, because then it would look like you're trying to really pull the design through and not have the pocket clip take away from that. Jimping's in a good spot. Harpoon's in a good spot too for that detailed work. Ironically, with my larger hands and my finger, I'm able to get way out here on the clip point. I think if you had medium hands, you would probably land right behind that, and you would still get enough power into that to use that clip point. Just disappointed with the ergos here. That pocket clip, the plunge grind kind of took away from it. The design really, honestly, is the only thing that's really pulling this up for me. This to me, when I'm not looking at it, it feels like a lightweight version of any other Civivi knife that I've handled with the aluminum. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. The revamped Chevalier. I think that one with the aluminum scales kind of feels like operationally like this does. The Chevalier is way more ergonomic. It's just, this is too sharp, too pointy. I think when you design something like this, you need to have some people internally handle this for a little while, do some actual cutting tasks with it, because it goes right into the meat and pinches it into the bone. So this is a miss for me, and I'm disappointed about that. Not a miss, but I would recommend something else other than this, unless you got small to medium hands, and then probably going to be perfect for you ergonomically. But for my large hand and up individuals, just a little bit of a miss. I would definitely recommend finding their milled titanium pocket clip and sticking it on there. At least that, you could anodize that bronze and maybe bring out a little bit there or something. I don't know. Pocket clip's a little bit of a miss. Other than that, I'm just meh. I'm a little underwhelmed for what I had expected. I think that's also part of the problem. Like I had high hopes for this one, and I was a little let down. But let me know what you think about the Biosphere down in the comments below. Yay or nay? Did you pick one up? And if you have, those smaller hands and your ergonomic experience is different, sound off in the comments and help anyone else that might look at this review to see your comments. If you have smaller hands, I would send you down to the comments to look for those, to see what others are saying, because I'm purely looking at it from my perspective. And again, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, thanks for hanging out. If you enjoyed the video on your way out, hit that like button. If you don't have anything to say about the biosphere and you watched to this point, definitely leave a comment saying what's up, hi, what you carrying, all that good stuff. And thanks to everyone out there that uses those links. You guys are really using them a bunch, and I really appreciate it. It has allowed me to continue to bring in my own knives to review and disassemble for you and cut with on stuff for you. So I really appreciate that, and the lock test and everything like that. So thank you for that. A special thank you to my channel members. You guys giving that extra layer of support is also extremely helpful, and I really do appreciate it. Anyway, I'm out of here, guys. I'll catch you all in the next one. I love you. Have a great week. Peace.